The island of Sodor is a very special place. It has hills and valleys, fields and forests. All of Sir Topham Hatt's engines loved the island of Sodor. One day, Sir Topham Hatt came to Tidmouth's sheds. He had splendid news. "Boom, Sir Topham Hatt," said Percy. Thomas was excited for his friend, but Percy was worried. Asked Percy. Thomas thought. He said. He puffed. Percy felt better. He would show the famous artist somewhere very special, somewhere that was the spirit of Sodor. When Percy arrived at Brendam, the docks were very crowded. Everyone wanted to see the famous artist. He had paper and an easel. He had lots of paint and bags of brushes, a long smock to keep his clothes clean, and on his head he wore a big black beret. Percy thought he looked very important. The famous artist climbed on board Percy. He said, puffed Percy happily, and he steamed out of the docks as fast as he could go. Percy puffed across the island. He chuffed. At last, Percy came to Shen Valley. It was very beautiful. Cried Percy happily. The famous artist had a very long look. He said, Percy was surprised. He thought Shen Valley was very special, but the artist was very famous and very important. Percy set off again. He would show the famous artist somewhere else special. Percy came to Normanby Beach. The sun was shining. Children were playing in the sand. There was even a donkey giving rides. Percy was sure the famous artist would want to paint it. He puffed. The famous artist looked at Normanby Beach. He held his paintbrush and palette. He sighed. This upset Percy. He thought Normanby Beach was the most cheerful place on the island. He wanted to tell the famous artist he was wrong, but all he said was, and set off sadly again. Percy took the artist to the viaduct, but the famous artist said. Then Percy took him to the windmill, said the famous artist. Finally, Percy took the famous artist to Nafford Station. There were engines and coaches, porters and packages, and loudest of all, the happy noise of passengers coming aboard. Percy thought it was the most wonderful sight of all, said Percy proudly. The famous artist sighed. Percy was so cross his boiler bubbled, and he went as red as James. Gordon thought the artist was very rude. Peeped Percy. Then he wheezed some steam. The steam blew the artist's hat into the air. The famous artist cried. Percy was sure he was in trouble now. Percy waited and waited. Sir Topham Hatt came to Nafford at once. Cried the famous artist. Asked Sir Topham Hatt. Percy gasped. Said the famous artist, and Sir Topham Hatt agreed. And so the famous artist painted Percy. And on the night the painting was to be shown for the first time, all the engines were there. When the mayor pulled the cord to show his picture, Percy gasped. Thomas smiled, and Percy smiled too. He was very proud to be the spirit of Sodor.